Jaffa's petroglyphs, the carved plains enigma. There are places on this continent that don't announce themselves with towering ruins or stone walls. No broken temples, no tall markers, just open land, wind, and rock. Jaffa's petroglyphs is one of those places. You can drive for miles across the plains of southwestern Minnesota and see nothing but grass, sky, and gentle hills. Then suddenly, there it is. A long, low ridge of red quartzite rising from the earth, quiet and unassuming. But when you step closer, you realize the stone is covered with stories. Thousands of them, carved, pecked, and scratched into the rock by human hands long before written history reached this land. At first glance, the carvings don't shout for attention. You have to slow down, bend closer, let your eyes adjust. Then shapes begin to appear. Animals, people, circles, lines, tracks, symbols that feel both familiar and completely foreign. This is the Jaffa's petroglyph site, one of the largest and most complex collections of rock carvings in North America. And no one fully agrees on what all of it means. The rock itself is ancient, red Sioux quartzite, formed over 1 billion years ago, long before humans, long before ice ages shaped this land. But the carvings are much younger. Most experts believe they were made over thousands of years, starting around 7,000 years ago and continuing well into more recent indigenous history. That means generation after generation returned to this same ridge, stood on the same stone, and added their marks. What makes Jaffa so mysterious is not just its age. It's the sheer variety of images and the feeling that this place mattered deeply. Not for a short time, but for millennia. As you walk along the ridge, you see bison carved in different styles. Some are simple outlines, others show detail in the legs and horns. There are human figures with raised arms, some holding what appear to be weapons or tools. There are birds, turtles, thunder-like shapes, and long winding lines that may represent paths, rivers, or journeys. There are symbols that don't match animals or people at all. Circles with lines, star shapes, shapes that seem to repeat again and again across the rock. One of the most striking things is the way the carvings overlap. Older images are sometimes cut through by newer ones. That tells us this site was revisited over and over. People weren't just passing through, they were returning with purpose. Many believe Jaffa's petroglyphs was a sacred place, a meeting point between the physical world and the spirit world. The ridge overlooks open prairie, once filled with migrating bison herds. For plains cultures, bison were life itself. Food, clothing, tools, survival. Carving bison into stone here may have been a way to honor them, to ask for success in the hunt, or to give thanks. Some carvings appear to show hunting scenes, figures with bows facing bison, lines that might show movement or direction. But other images don't fit a simple hunting story. There are human-like figures that seem to float or stretch unnaturally. Some have horns or animal features. These are often linked to spiritual beings, vision figures, or shamans in altered states. This leads many researchers and indigenous elders to believe Jaffa's was used for vision quests, ceremonies, or storytelling tied to spiritual experiences. A place where people came to seek guidance, healing, or meaning. There is also strong evidence that the site has astronomical meaning. Certain carvings line up with the sun during solstices and equinoxes. On specific days of the year, sunlight highlights particular symbols, while others fall into shadow. This suggests careful planning and deep knowledge of the sky. The people who carved these images were watching the heavens closely, tracking seasons, marking time, connecting earth and sky. But here's where the mystery deepens. No one can say for sure which culture carved each image. The site was used by many different groups over thousands of years. Ancestors of today's Dakota, Lakota, and other plains peoples likely played a role. But separating which symbol belongs to which time period or group is extremely difficult. The rock doesn't come with dates or names. Some carvings could be 7,000 years old. Others might be only a few hundred years old. They sit side by side, sharing the same surface. This blending of time makes Jeffers feel less like a museum and more like a conversation stretched across thousands of years. Another mystery lies in the symbols that don't match known stories. Some shapes appear nowhere else in Plains rock art. They don't clearly represent animals, people, or tools. Were they personal symbols, clan markers, records of dreams or visions, or messages meant only for those who understood the code? One particularly debated symbol is a shape that looks like a thunderbird, a powerful spirit in many indigenous traditions. The thunderbird is linked to storms, protection, and balance. Its presence suggests the site held ceremonial power, not just daily life scenes. Then, there are the footprints, human and animal tracks carved into stone. These are often seen as symbols of journeys, both physical and spiritual. They may mark a rite of passage, a path taken during a vision quest, or a connection to ancestors who walked the land before. Standing on the ridge today, it's easy to feel small. The wind moves across the prairie just as it did thousands of years ago. The sky feels huge. The carvings sit quietly beneath your feet, as if waiting. There's a sense that this place remembers things the land itself won't say out loud. But Jeffers petroglyphs also carries a history of loss and neglect. For much of modern history, the site was damaged. Early settlers didn't understand its value. Some carvings were broken. Others were worn down by farming, weather, and people walking directly on them. For years, the site had little protection. Thankfully, that has changed. Today, Jeffers petroglyphs is protected as a historic site. Walkways guide visitors so they don't step directly on the carvings. Signs explain the images and their possible meanings. Indigenous voices are now part of how the story is told, which matters deeply. This is not just ancient art, it's living heritage. Still, protection comes with challenges. The rock is exposed to harsh weather. Freeze and thaw cycles slowly wear it down. Rain and wind continue their work. Increased visitors, even careful ones, bring risk. Balancing public access with preservation is an ongoing struggle. There's also the deeper issue of interpretation. No sign or guide can fully explain what these carvings meant to the people who made them. Modern words fall short. We can study patterns, compare singles, and listen to oral traditions, but much remains unknown. And maybe that's how it's meant to be. Jeffers petroglyphs doesn't give easy answers. It asks you to slow down, to accept that some stories aren't yours to fully decode, that some knowledge belongs to the land and the people connected to it. What makes this place powerful is not just mystery, but continuity. The fact that humans kept coming back here for thousands of years says something important. This ridge mattered. It was remembered, chosen again and again. Today, when you visit, you'll find a mix of emotions. On the positive side, the site is quiet, respectful, and thoughtfully maintained. The walkways protect the pole, carvings. Educational displays help visitors understand context without overwhelming them. The open prairie still feels open. You can stand there and imagine bison herds on the horizon. On the negative side, some carvings are faint, worn almost smooth. You can tell time has taken its toll. The site can feel fragile. There's also the frustration of knowing how much was likely lost before protection came. And for some indigenous visitors, there's pain in seeing sacred images displayed publicly, even with care. As it stands now, Efes Petroglyphs exists in a careful balance. It is preserved, but vulnerable, honored, but still misunderstood, open to visitors, but asking for respect. My personal feeling about Jeffes is this: it doesn't need to explain itself to be important. The mystery is not a flaw, it's the point. This place reminds us that human history is deeper than books and borders, that people long before us looked at the same sky, stood on the same ground, and tried to make sense of their world in lasting ways. The present situation at Jeffes Petroglyphs is one of quiet endurance. The carvings remain, weathered, but still speaking. The land is protected, but time keeps moving. Visitors come and go, some staying only minutes, others lingering in theme. The site is safe for now, but its future depends on continued care, respect, and listening. Not just to experts, but to the land itself. The Grand Mound Complex at Rainy River. There's a stretch of land along the Rainy River where the ground itself feels unsettled, like it's holding on to something it never fully gave back. The river moves slowly here, wide and dark, forming a natural border that has mattered to people for a very long time. On the surface, it looks calm. Trees line the banks, waterbirds drift in and out of view. But beneath that calm sits one of the least talked about and most misunderstood ancient sites in the Northern Plains, the Grand Mound Complex at Rainy River. Most people have never heard of it. There's no big entrance sign, no dramatic ruins rising into the sky. What remains are earthen mounds, low and warm, blending into the landscape so well that you could walk right past them and never know they were there. That quietness is part of the mystery. This place once held deep meaning. Now it barely speaks above a whisper. The mounds were built thousands of years ago by indigenous peoples who understood this land in ways modern eyes often miss. Long before borders, long before maps, Rainy River was a major travel route. It connected lakes, forests, and trading paths that stretched across what is now Minnesota and into Canada. People moved through here seasonally, following fish runs, hunting cycles, and social gatherings. This wasn't the edge of the world. It was a crossroads. The Grand Mound Complex likely served more than one purpose. Archaeological studies suggest these mounds were not just burial sites, though some human remains were found. They also appear to have been ceremonial spaces, gathering points, and markers of territory and memory. Building a mound takes time and effort. Soil has to be carried, shaped, and maintained. You don't do that unless the place matters. Some of the mounds were large for this region. That alone raises questions. Why here? Why invest so much energy at this exact bend of the river? The answer may lie in how ancient people viewed rivers. They weren't just water sources. Rivers were living pathways, connecting the physical world to the spiritual one. Many cultures believed rivers carried souls, messages, or power. Standing near the Rainy River today, it's easy to imagine how this place once felt alive. Canoes arriving from different directions, smoke rising from camps, voices carrying across the water, ceremonies taking place on the higher ground, where the mounds rise just enough to separate the sacred from the everyday. What adds to the mystery is how little we truly know about the people who built these mounds. Over time, many groups passed through this region. Ancestors of the Ojibwe are most often connected to the area, but earlier cultures may have built the earliest mounds. Like many ancient sites, the Grand Mound Complex represents layers of history stacked on top of one another. Some mounds show signs of repeated use, That suggests long-term importance, not a one-time event. Items found near the site point to trade connections far beyond the local area. Stone, copper, and other materials hint that Rainy River was part of a much larger network. But here's where the story turns darker. By the time European settlers arrived, the mounds were already old. But instead of being respected, many were disturbed. Some were dug into out of curiosity. Others were damaged by farming, road building, and development. Pieces of history were taken, lost, or destroyed. What survived did so mostly by chance. For decades, the Grand Mound Complex existed in a strange limbo. Known, but not fully protected. Studied, but not fully understood. Important, but often ignored in favor of more dramatic sites elsewhere. That neglect feeds the mystery. How much was lost before anyone thought to record it properly? How many stories were erased when the soil was turned and reshaped? There's also debate about the exact function of the mounds. Some researchers argue they were mainly burial mounds, used to honor important individuals. Others believe they marked seasonal gathering points tied to fishing and trade cycles along the river. Another view suggests they were spiritual markers meant to anchor stories and ceremonies to the land. None of these ideas cancel the others out. In many indigenous traditions, life, death, ceremony, and daily survival are not separate things. A place can serve many roles at once. What makes the Grand Mound Complex especially haunting is how it feels today. Unlike more developed sites, this one feels almost forgotten. Trees grow where people once gathered. Grass covers shapes that were once clearly defined. The land has slowly reclaimed what humans built. That can feel peaceful, but it also feels uneasy. There's a sense that the site is slipping away, not just physically, but from memory. Modern protection efforts have improved things somewhat. The site is now recognized for its historical value, and there are attempts to preserve what remains. But preservation here is complicated. The mounds are fragile. Even small disturbances can cause damage. Public access has to be limited, which means fewer people see the site, which means fewer people know it exists. It's a difficult balance. Protecting the land often means keeping it quiet. But quiet can turn into invisibility. From a positive point of view, the area around Rainy River remains largely undeveloped. That has helped preserve the natural setting. The river still flows as it always has. Wildlife still moves through the area. The mounds, though worn, still hold their shape if you know how to look. On the negative side, erosion is constant. Weather slowly wears down the earthworks. Seasonal flooding can weaken the mounds further. And because the site doesn't attract large numbers of visitors, funding and attention are limited. There's also the emotional weight of knowing this was once a place of community and meaning, now reduced to faint rises in the ground. For indigenous communities, that loss is not abstract, it's personal. These mounds represent ancestors, traditions, and connections that were interrupted. When you stand near the site today, there's no dramatic reveal, no moment where everything clicks into place. Instead, there's a quiet realization. History doesn't always survive in grand forms. Sometimes it survives as a question. Why here? Who stood here before? What songs were sung? What stories were told beside this river? The Grand Mound Complex doesn't answer those questions. It leaves them hanging in the air, carried by the wind off the water. My own opinion is that this site deserves more care, not in the sense of turning it into a tourist stop, but in how we think about it. It's a reminder that importance doesn't always come with spectacle. Some of the most meaningful places are the ones that require patience and humility to understand. The present situation at the Grand Mound Complex is fragile, but not hopeless. The mounds still exist, the river still flows, the land still remembers, even if we struggle to listen. Protection efforts are there, but limited. Awareness is growing slowly. Whether this place fades further or finds renewed respect depends on how much value we place on quiet history and unseen stories. Right now, the Grand Mound Complex stands as a soft shadow of its former self, still here, still sacred to many, still asking to be noticed before time smooths it away completely. The Lake Bronson Cairn Fields. There are places where mystery feels loud, and then there are places where it barely makes a sound. The Lake Bronson Cairn Fields belong to the second kind. No fences, no grand markers, no obvious signs telling you something important once happened here. Just open land near Lake Bronson in northern Minnesota, where stones sit stacked in quiet patterns, almost pretending to be natural, almost. At first, you might mistake them for random piles of rocks left behind by farmers clearing fields. That's what many people thought for a long time. But when you slow down and really look, something feels off. These stones weren't tossed aside. They were placed, carefully, repeatedly, over a wide area, and that changes everything. The cairn fields near Lake Bronson are made up of hundreds of small stone piles spread across the landscape in ways that don't match modern farming patterns. They're not random, they're not convenient, and they don't make sense unless you assume someone took time and effort to put them exactly where they are. That's where the mystery begins. Cairns are one of the oldest human markers known anywhere in the world. They've been used to mark graves, paths, sacred spaces, hunting grounds, and territorial boundaries. But the cairns at Lake Bronson don't fit neatly into one clear purpose. They are too many, too spread out, and too quiet in their message. Some are small, just a few stones stacked together. Others are larger, more deliberate. Many sit on higher ground, overlooking water or open land. That placement matters. Ancient people didn't choose locations casually. High ground meant visibility, safety, and meaning. The area around Lake Bronson was once a rich seasonal landscape. Long before modern borders, this region supported hunting, fishing, and travel. Rivers and lakes connected communities across vast distances. People moved through here with the seasons, following animals and resources. This was not empty land, it was known land. So why build stone cairns here? One theory is that these cairns marked important travel routes. In a flat landscape, even small stone piles can serve as guides. They could point the way between camps, water sources, or gathering places. Over time, more cairns would be added, reinforcing paths passed down through generations. Another idea is that the cairns marked territory, not in a hostile way, but as a statement of presence, a quiet way of saying, this land is known, this land is used. Stone lasts longer than wood. It survives storms, fire, and time. If you wanted to leave a message for the future, stone was the right choice. But there's also a deeper possibility. Many believe the Lake Bronson cairns were ceremonial, that they marked sacred ground, places of offering, or points tied to stories and spiritual beliefs. I hear, says Cairns, the human word is the true mens of Spain. In some indigenous traditions, stacking stones is an act of respect, each stone placed with intention, each cairn a moment captured in physical form. What complicates everything is the lack of artifacts. Unlike mound sites, there are few objects to study. No pottery fragments, no tools, no clear burial remains, just stones. That absence forces us to confront something uncomfortable. Not all ancient actions were meant to leave evidence we can easily read. Some things were done for reasons that didn't require objects or records. Some meanings were meant to be carried by people, not preserved for outsiders thousands of years later. The cairns don't explain themselves. They simply exist. Over the years, many of these stone piles were destroyed. Farmers removed them, assuming they were just obstacles. Others collapsed from weather or were scattered by curious visitors. By the time researchers began paying serious attention, much had already been lost. That loss deepens the mystery. How many cairns were there originally? What patterns existed that we can no longer see? What remains today is only a fragment of the original field, enough to raise questions, but not enough to answer them fully. Walking through the area now, the land feels wide and quiet. The wind moves through tall grass. Birds pass overhead. The cairns sit low to the ground, easy to miss if you're not looking for them. There's something unsettling about that. Important places aren't always obvious. Sometimes they hide in plain sight. Some cairns appear aligned in loose rows, others clustered near natural features like ridges or water edges. That suggests intention. Humans tend to organize space with meaning, even when that meaning isn't visible to outsiders. There's also debate about age. Some believe the cairns could be several thousand years old, possibly built by early plains cultures. Others argue they may be more recent, tied to later indigenous groups using the land for navigation or ceremony. Without clear dating material, the debate remains open, and that uncertainty fuels speculation. Were these cairns built over generations, slowly filling the landscape with markers of memory, or were they constructed in a shorter period, tied to a specific cultural practice we no longer recognize? Some local stories speak of stone markers placed during important gatherings or seasonal events, each family or group adding a cairn as a sign of participation or respect. Over time, the field would grow, not as a planned design, but as a living record of community presence. Others believe the cairns marked places of prayer, quiet spots where people stopped, placed a stone, and continued on. If that's true, then the cairn fields represent countless personal moments, individual acts of belief, now blended into a collective mystery. The problem is that modern thinking often wants one clear answer, one purpose, one explanation. Ancient life was rarely that simple. What makes the Lake Bronson cairn fields feel especially fragile today is how easily they can disappear. Unlike carved stone or large earthworks, cairns can be undone in seconds. One careless step, one curious hand, one decision to clean up the land. Protection efforts exist, but they are limited. The site is recognized, but not widely known. That keeps crowds away, which is good for preservation, but it also means fewer people understand its importance. From a positive perspective, the land around Lake Bronson remains relatively undeveloped. Nature has not been pushed out. The quiet remains. The cairns that survived still sit where they were placed, holding their ground against time. On the negative side, erosion continues. Freeze and thaw cycles shift stones. Vegetation grows and hides features. And human ignorance remains a threat, not from malice, but from misunderstanding. Standing among the cairns today, there's no clear emotional cue. No sign telling you how to feel. That's part of what makes it powerful. You're left alone with your thoughts, with the stones, with the possibility that this place once held meaning so deep it didn't need explanation. I find the Lake Bronson cairn fields humbling. They don't demand attention. They don't offer spectacle. They simply exist, asking a quiet question: how much of human history have we walked past without noticing? These stones were placed by people who knew this land intimately, people who understood seasons, movement, and memory. Whatever their exact purpose, the cairns were not accidents. They were deliberate acts in a world where nothing was wasted and nothing was done without reason. The present situation at the Lick Bronson cairn fields is uncertain but not lost. Some cairns remain intact. Awareness is slowly growing among historians and indigenous groups. Protection is there, but fragile. The site survives because it is being overlooked, not because it has been fully understood. Right now, the cairn fields sit quietly between past and future, still holding their shape, still holding their silence. Whether they continue to exist depends on respect, restraint, and the willingness to accept that not every mystery needs to be solved to be valued.